concept. You have a great concept. You guys are doing it, man, and it's an honor for me to just be, a small rock, man, in your mountain. I'm gonna pop a top in your honor.
Mr. Doc Walker blessed us with his presence and knowledge.
Welcome to Sports on the Hill podcast. Hashtag DC Sports Without the Politics with Carol and Robbie on True Radio Network. Thank you, gentlemen.
What's going on, people? CP3, live from the lab as always. See, you got my man Robbie G and Tim C already in the background. We get ready to start this thing off in a second. You know how we do. Episode 311. Robbie, I think you're double muted, buddy.
Okay. There we go.
A show isn't a show until Robbie double mutes himself.
It's true. It's true. Classic. All right. So, yeah, we're live on Facebook, and we're live here on Twitch as well. So thank you, everyone, for joining us for this is episode 311, or also known as episode 8 of season 8 of the Sports on the Hill podcast. Today we're talking about the playoffs, both the NHL and the NBA playoffs. We'll also have a Nats update, a Mystics update, and at the very end of the show, I haven't done my due diligence with the DC United, so I'm going to go through the last couple of weeks for them. They've actually had a couple of great games the last couple of weeks, so I'll go through some of those scores at the very end of the show. But for this first hour, we've got 2 live games going on right now. Eastern Conference Final, where Florida is playing Carolina. This game is in Florida. Florida leads the series 2-0 after winning both of those games in overtime. We'll break that down more in the second hour with a special guest, Jeremy from Moonlight Social. I'll introduce him more when we get to that segment. But we'll be doing live scoring updates from this game. The second period, the puck just dropped. So we'll be doing the second period live look-ins throughout this basketball segment. Switching over to that, the Lakers are currently up 34-28 with 1.3 seconds left on the clock, and they throw it up, and it's no good. So they'll take a 6-point lead after the first quarter. I usually don't put on a jersey of another team that's not a DC team, but the Lakers are on the verge of getting swept. So I thought I had not worn this jersey the entire playoffs, and we'll bust it out for this one to hope that they don't get swept. But we'll talk about that one and the 3-0 lead that the Heat have as well right now. So both teams have never been swept in a conference finals before. They've never had the Eastern and Western both swept in the same year since it started, which is in the 1970s, I believe. And so this would be a big deal if there was 2 sweeps going into the finals, especially because it surprised a lot of people. We talked last week about how I thought, at least, that the Celtics and the Lakers were destined to play each other once again. But I don't think we were giving Denver enough credit in that. And the Heat have an amazing coach, which we did talk about last week. with Arun, and we also had Davey on last week as well for a great NBA segment. So a ton of stuff to break down tonight. But Carol, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Robbie. Talking about that NBA series with both of them 3-0. I said it before. I don't watch a lot, but Denver is the most underrated number one seed. And that kid Jokic, I've heard about him. I haven't watched him play live, but watching these playoffs, I never thought I would say this about a current NBA player. He reminds me of Hakeem Olajuwon with more range. And it's shocking to see how dominant he is inside and outside, his vision, his range, and he's not a liability on defense. And a lot of folks, I guess, like myself, hadn't. Well, I don't watch, but that since he's in Denver, a lot of folks might not have seen his game, but I must say I'm very impressed with his game.
Yeah, it's been really surprising that they've been counted out so much. It's just hard because Murray and Joker are both so good, and it seems like you can maybe hold them down for 3 quarters, but it's just really hard to hold them down for all 4 quarters. And you kind of have to hold both of them down just because like one will go off for a time and then the other will go off. And just it's kind of crazy. I mean, this team is so good, and Denver is so close right now to being on the verge of their very first NBA Finals. So obviously, there's a lot riding on this. I'm still thinking that the Lakers find a way to win this one, but then when it goes back, it's been really hard to win in Denver this year. So Lakers would have a hard time trying to win two there, in my opinion. But yeah, it's been interesting. But Tim, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, doing great. I'm still recovering from seeing another Nats loss live in person Friday night. I think I'm a bad luck charm. Yeah, I saw the one loss of the series. The Nats played really well at the end of the game, but when you get down 8-0, it's hard to win.
Yeah.
But they showed fight. We stayed till the last out. It was a fun Friday night. They're playing better baseball. But I'm a bad luck charm because that's like 6 in a row going back 3 seasons. So
wow, yeah,
it's not all my fault.
It's time to stay home, Tim. It's time to stay home.
Yeah. But it was a good time. Good weather.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, maybe I'll have you stay on for a little bit of our Nats talk segment or something, and we can talk to Carol a little bit more about it because I haven't actually gone to a Nats game in a couple of seasons.
Yeah, I can at least talk about that game in series a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
At least you got to stay for the whole game. One game I went to this season was a 4-hour rain delay game. So hey.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
we have a lot of rain delays there. That's one bad thing about Nats Park, but.
Yeah, I picked one game, and it had to be the 4-hour rain delay game.
Yeah, I mean I've been there, and it sucks because you went home to watch an XFL game that you thought was going to be a huge win, but.
It was just a bad DC sports day.
The same day,
yeah, the same day, man. And we were thinking about going to the watch party. I'm glad we didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Good move.
Yeah, definitely a good move. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in on our Twitch feed and quick scoring update. Lakers, Denver is close. It's now 36-31 in that, and Florida, Carolina is still 0-0. So
I'm saying it now, Denver in 4.
Yeah, you think Denver's going to come back and just win this game right here?
Denver, like you said, you can hold them down for a little while, but eventually they're gonna go off. Like in Game 3, they were Lakers were fighting, but it's like Denver was just in a rhythm, just like they're in control. Like they knew they were going to win that game, and they just took over and went on that run. And I just think they have confidence, and they playing an underdog role, even though they're number one. And like you said, after the game one, all you heard was the Lakers made adjustments. They're going to find a way, yada, yada, yada. And that's fueled them. And, being in fact, like you said, this will be their first finals appearance. I think they're ready to make that step. And like I said, I'm not an expert at all, but I've seen them make adjustments and adjust to what the Lakers are doing. And sometimes you haven't seen the Lakers adjust to what they were doing. The one thing I did notice was they had Schroeder giving full court pressure on Murray to try to slow him down, and I did slow him down a little bit in the last game, but they were still able to overcome and win that game ultimately.
Yeah, as you were talking about, Murray scored, but then Austin Reeves came back and was aggressive and got a bucket and won. So it puts them up 6 now with 10:03 left in the second quarter here. And yeah, it's been an interesting battle. I think the Lakers will win this game, but it's going to be a tough one for sure. They're going to be close to the very end. But the Lakers have actually played really well in a lot of these games. It hasn't been blowouts like the other side of the series. I'm going to do a quick screen share. We're going to get into some of this basketball talk real quick, and then we'll talk about this live game some more. Let me get the Lakers up here. So this is our current game right now. But we will go into the Eastern Conference and take a look at the Celtics series. So, yeah, when we last left off, it was starting off this Heat Celtics series. Game 1 was pretty close. It was like a 2-point game after the first, with the Celtics had a minor lead, and they extended the lead in the second. But in the third quarter, the Heat just dominated the Celtics, and then in the fourth quarter, they continued that domination. Then it was closer. I'm sorry, it was 25-20, but it was such a huge third. They outscored them by 21 points in that third quarter, and that's just too hard to overcome in the conference finals. Tim, what are some of your thoughts on this game 1?
Most people thought after this loss for Boston that they were just playing lazy and continuing their streak of losing a lot of home games in a concerning way, but then saving their series by winning a lot of road games and coming out strong after losses. But clearly, the coaching edge for the Heat matters so much that when you kill a team in the third quarter, that's usually because of the adjustments. And if it's really lopsided, kind of like the Warriors always do with Kerr in the third quarter, it's probably because you have an elite coach and the other coach might not be great. And clearly, Mazzulla, he's younger than all of us. I mean, that a first-year coach, young guy, he's just getting put through the ringer in the press. He can't handle it. But I think this game really just proved that the coaching edge is so large that it can overcome all that talent that Boston has. Because even though they have more stars, collectively they just don't play as hard. Or at home they just have concerning droughts where they play without energy. And it's not the crowd's fault. I mean, Boston has a great home court. It's just, I think, bad coaching and a lot of young, selfish players on Boston, and they're just not gelling at the right time. This is a team that almost won the finals last year. And they're really just playing terrible this whole series. But this game, that third quarter was where you first saw a bad stretch from them.
Yeah, it was definitely a tough game for Celtics fans. Sorry, Carly in chat. But we've got the next game was sort of similar in the sense that I guess it was closer in the first quarter, just a 1-point lead for the Celtics. And then the Heat took a small lead at halftime. The Celtics actually fought back and I thought had a really good third quarter this time. But unfortunately, in the fourth quarter, they allowed for 36 points again. They need to stop allowing for 30 or more points in our quarter. It's just really tough. I mean, they only lost this game by 6 points, but it's definitely I just think that the Heat's coaching has been phenomenal. What you saw in the last game in the box score was a lot of players with 15 points. So it's not like a ton of people are like lighting it up and getting 30, but it's just a total team effort. And you can see it in this box score too. A lot of double-digit scores. It's pretty evenly split. This time it was like a 3-headed monster, and the other one it was more evenly distributed across the roster. But what are some of your thoughts on game 2?
This game will always be known for the Grant Williams, Jimmy Butler showdown, forehead to forehead, where basically the narrative is Williams on Boston just poked the bear, pissed off the star on the other team. Boston took control in the third quarter, and it looked like they were going to win. And Williams was actually playing well on offense, and he was guarding Butler, but he just, talked so much trash that Butler reacted by getting angry, on fire, and he could not miss for the rest of the game from the floor. He had a bunch of and ones. He was just the best player in the game after all the altercations. And this guy, Williams, he doesn't even play every game. He only plays every other game in the playoffs, really. A lot of sporadic minutes. He plays with a lot of heart and energy, and I understand why he's playing more now. But that was just dumb, and he's not even a starter, so he can't go toe-to-toe with Butler. Just a bad mental mistake. And it's just sad that they need, the Celtics can't get up for a game like this without one kind of reserve, like, role player getting into a fight, basically. So not great, but it was an impressive, interesting comeback. But again, I just think the Heat, they play so well together and they're well coached. They don't get rattled, so they just sort of took the Celtics hard in this game, in the second half at least.
Yeah. And then yesterday's game wasn't even close. It was sort of the biggest blood of the series. The Heat started off on fire, 30-22. They scored 31 in the second, outscored 31-24. Scored again above 30 in the third, 32-17. And in the fourth quarter, they scored 35. They did allow 39 by that point, but there's a lot of scrubs in the game. And I don't know. It was 128-102. So even if you allow 39 points, they still barely got over 100 for the whole game. You have the Heat over.
Hey, Robbie. Not to cut you off, but things getting a little heated in this Lakers game. LeBron and I'm trying to see which player it is. There was
Gordon.
Things getting a little physical down there. I'm starting to see LeBron is looking like he's a little irritated after Game 3. I was shocked to see him leave the court.
To be fair, he's trying to pull his arm out, and Gordon was like got a lock on his arm.
Because when Gordon was trying to get in position, he caught him right there in the jaw, and LeBron was already frustrated with that, and then Gordon was boning him up, and then it just got physical. I was just letting you know, things are getting a little testy in Game 4. And before y'all get back to it, I have a quick question about this series for both of you guys, because I mentioned it. I don't know if I mentioned it to you or someone else about the fourth quarter collapses of Boston, especially coming off of that series versus the 76ers when Tatum had that terrible first three quarters, and the fourth quarter lit up, came back, won the game, then put up 51 in the Game 7, and then essentially in the first two games of the series in the fourth quarter, first game he didn't take any shots, I believe. Second game he only had 2 field goals in that fourth, which kind of fueled Miami. What do you think caused this huge drop off with their fourth quarter production that put them in this position? Because I thought Philly had them in Game 5, and then when I saw Game 6 that they were up, but Tatum was 0 for whatever, I knew that Philly, he wasn't going to be that way for the whole game, and then for him to light up like that in Game 7, and then all of a sudden disappear in 2 huge fourth quarters at home in the conference finals. What do you think led to this whole thing? Was it Miami's defense and their coaching, or was it just Boston shot their load with the Philly series and didn't have nothing left for a quality team like Miami, even though they're the 8th seed?
In my opinion, I think it's coaching. I just think that it just seems like Spoelstra has just got an answer to every move he's made, and Spoelstra has been that young guy before, and I think he kind of remembers that. But it's been amazing because you think about it, the Heat have had a lot of injuries this year, and he's been able to keep the ball rolling, and they've been the hottest team. The last couple, they go on a tear to make the playoffs, or to win in the play-in. They play more games. I feel like they're, I don't want to say more playoff ready, but I think in some ways their route to this game was much harder than the Celtics was, and so I think he's just got them out coached. But Tim, what are some of your thoughts?
I agree that it's coaching, but I think it's more bad coaching on the Celtics part, because one thing that the Celtics have done badly, especially this year, they they're not that consistent even in the playoffs. They already lost a lot of home games in the past few years. Even when they got as far as the finals, they always get far, but rely on a lot of road wins, which is kind of weird. So they have a tendency to do poorly when you think they would have tons of energy and have the home advantage. The other thing is they kind of panic when the game's close on offense because they don't really run sets. If you notice the Heat, they know Jimmy Butler's their best player. So in the fourth quarter, he's touching the ball every possession and shooting at least half of them. So with the Celtics, they don't even get Brown and Tatum enough shots because they just kind of play hero ball at the end, and it works sometimes because they have a lot of talent. It's just not consistent because if you're ice cold and also your role players aren't hitting shots, it's just not going to work. It's not, you know, it's just not a sustainable way to do it. And I think the Celtics were clearly better coached last year, but they lost that coach because of a scandal. So the question is this new coach really that bad? Because he kind of was the third or fourth assistant. He wasn't like the assistant head coach last year. They reached for him, and he's young and he's never coached before. Is he that bad, or is it the players are showing their displeasure with the whole team and coach and just saying, you have to blow it up. This is how bad it is. We're losing and we're getting embarrassed. So you just have to trade people, fire people. That's the one thing that it could be, because it's just they were so like lackadaisical last night. They didn't even play defense in the second half. They didn't even run back on defense a lot, which is pretty terrible for a playoff game. Even if you know you're going to get swept, you should always run back. I mean, that in the regular season they do that now because of everything's on film now. So
Well, it's weird because it's also a game 3, so like
they acted like a game 4 closing.
Or a game 3, I guess, within the road, but still, but like you got to find a way to steal one back and make a series of it. You just steal one, exactly. Get your next one at home, and then you can deal with it and kick the can down the road.
I'm going to make a bold prediction. Doc Rivers is going back to Boston.
Yeah. I was talking to my dad before the game. He thought that Boston was going to win 2, and that the Lakers were going to win 1 here, and so it'd be a 5-game series in one and a 6 in the other. So it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, for them pulling a coach off the bench that hasn't coached before to coach an NBA team, even if it's the same philosophy, to me is asinine, and that explains a lot of why they fell apart like that. Thanks for the insight, because I had no idea.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so the Boston series, I think we've kind of being a dead horse, but the next game, potentially last game, is going to be tomorrow at 8:30, and that game will be on TNT. They're switching back and forth, so TNT has hockey and ESPN has basketball tonight, and then they flip it tomorrow, and they just keep on going back and forth because now both networks have both sports, and so they're working together that way, which is kind of cool. So game 4 would be tomorrow. Game 5, if necessary, would be Thursday at 8:30. Game 6 would be Saturday at 8:30, and Game 7 would be next Monday at 8:30. So the Lakers have just taken the largest lead of the series, which is only a 12-point lead in their game. So we'll see if they can hold on to that. On the Florida game, the Florida is on the power play for the second time. The last time they were on the power play, they scored a Sam Reinhart goal, his 7th of the playoffs. Assist by Matthew Tkachuk, his 12th, and Sam Bennett, 7th assist, making it 1-0. So they have an opportunity to double up here. Kachuk's brother was actually just being interviewed. He's from the Ottawa Senators. He's at the game right now. So yeah, it's an interesting couple of games here. Let's Carol or Tim, any final thoughts on the Heat Celtics before I move on?
No, let's go ahead and get into this series. Looking like the Lakers trying to force it to game 5. They putting up a good fight, like you say, up by 12. LeBron's feeling kind of special tonight, looking like he's getting involved on, as Tim said, every touch that's coming down the court. They're putting it through their best player, which is definitely going to be a good recipe for them. But like I said, I'm still going with Nuggets and 4.
Yeah, let's break down these games real quick. I'm going to run through all the games real fast, and then Tim and Carol, I'll get your thoughts on the whole series, just to sort of speed it up a little bit. The first game, the Nuggets started off very strong, outscored them by 12 in the first, sort of set the tone, outscored by 6 in the second. The Lakers kind of came back a little bit in the third, came back a decent amount in the fourth to make it close, but the Nuggets ended up winning that game 132 to 126 in the first one. The second game was also really close. It was tied after 1. The Lakers were up by 5 at halftime. The Nuggets outscored them by 2 in the third, and put together a really good fourth quarter, outscoring 32 to 24 to take a 108 to 103 lead. That's a game that the Lakers, in my mind, had to try to steal. They had a huge opportunity on the road, and it fell by the wayside. The next game, also somewhat close, but a little bit further than the two previous ones. The Nuggets put together a great first quarter again, 32 to 20. The Lakers came back and outscored them by 9 in the second. And then in the third, it was very close, 27-26 Lakers. And in the fourth, the Nuggets pulled away, outscored them 35 to 26 for a 119 to 108 victory. And then the next game is the game that's happening right now that we've been talking about. But Tim, what are some of your thoughts on the sort of the lost momentum they had from game 2, and then sort of the game 3 where the Nuggets kind of took over at the end?
Yeah, definitely. I think I can understand after game 1 why a lot of people still were high on the Lakers. If you think about it, they only lost game 1 because they were so terrible in the first quarter, and they really did outplay the Nuggets, especially in the second half. And they did look like a team that maybe would figure out after one loss how to play. But game 2 to me was all about Murray just hitting every shot in the second half. It doesn't even matter when he's hot. The defense doesn't really matter. They can try LeBron. He gets tired. He can't do it the whole game. So they put a lot of other guys on him, but it doesn't matter who it is. He can hit step back threes. He's, I would say, almost as good of a shooter as Steph when he's absolutely on fire. He's not as good. I'm just saying at his very best, he just will not miss. And that was him in the second half of game 2. And I just felt like you saw it on the Lakers' faces after Murray was hitting shot after shot. They would call a timeout. LeBron would just look like, what could I possibly do more if he doesn't miss? I mean, that's the interesting thing about basketball. If one guy goes off, he can beat a team himself, basically, that's outplaying the rest of the players a little bit. So that's the problem with the Nuggets against them. They have the guy who won the MVP the last 2 years, and then they have Murray. And I think people were down on them because they didn't go very far the last 2 years, but Murray was hurt in both of those playoffs. And the last time he was healthy, they got to the Western Finals. So they're older now, they're better. So I just think it's all clicking and they're healthy. And I think the Lakers realized after game 2, they're probably can't win this series. Even though they could take a couple games, I could see that.
Yeah, it's sort of been a surprising series. I know, Carol, that you watched some of it and you thought some of the calls weren't great early on in game 3. What are some of your thoughts on the series?
I'm just looking at Jokic numbers from the first 3 games. I just went and looked at them. First game, 34, 21, 14 with 2 blocks. 6 offensive rebounds with a 70% field goal percentage on that game. Game 2, 23, 17, 12 with 3 steals, 4 offensive rebounds. He only shot 42% from the field. And in the third game, 24, 6, 8 and shooting 47%. Yeah, those numbers are ridiculous, and it's looking like LA will hold court in this game unless Denver can make some nice adjustments to slow them down, because they look energized behind this crowd tonight. But when they go back home to Denver, I'm thinking they want to, end it out there, because they play a whole different ball game. I don't think they've lost a game at home in the playoffs. But like I said, this kid Jokic, I had no idea. I've watched some videos and seen some things, and seen some of the stuff off the court with him, and never really took him serious because never really watched his game. But this is an impressive kid, man. This dude is what they said he had 16 triple doubles in postseason already, which is like third all time. I mean, like I said before, he reminds me of Hakeem the Dream, who in my opinion is one of the best centers to ever play the game that really doesn't get talked about.
Yeah, I think it's for sure. I think that a lot of people were sleeping on the Nuggets, and I think that pissed off the Nuggets. I mean, they're a number one seed, and everyone was like, they don't have a chance against the Lakers. I just feel like it's just interesting that they got written off just because they were playing against LeBron. But LeBron's not that same guy, and it'll be interesting to see. I do think that the Lakers will win this one. The next game will be in Denver on Wednesday at 8:30. I just don't see them winning that one and the Game 7 potentially on Sunday there. So the Nuggets have two chances and they've been playing so great at home. The Lakers would have Game 6 on Friday at 8:30, but I don't think it even makes it to a Game 6 personally. But yeah. Any final thoughts, Tim, on the series before I'll let you guys, Carol, is your scene for baseball 2 up? Because if it is, I'll turn off my camera and you and Tim can chop it up for a minute while
Well, what I was going to get ready to do, so we keep the basketball theme, when I was going to run through the Mystics 2 games and I'll cut the schedule real quick, then get into the Nets. So I'm going to run through that real quick. If you wanted to go ahead and turn yours off, let me set.
I'll turn this off and I'll put up my Mystics graphic real quick. You guys can talk a little Mystics for a second. I'll be right back, and then you guys can talk Nats after that.
Sounds good.
So,
Yeah, Carol, do you have a 2 up? Do you want me to turn off my camera? Would that be easier?
No, you can leave it. You can leave it because yeah, you can just leave it up. I just transition into baseball after we talk Mystics. Let me get the Mystic stats up real quick. Where are they? Did I not put them in the? Oh well, they're in the weekend review. Let me bring that one up. Right. Switch that feed. All right. As I mentioned, the Washington Mystics kicked their season off last week. They are considered one of the power teams in the WNBA. They've considered to be stacked. They've made some additions to make them stronger defensively. And currently they're sitting 1-1. Started out the season showing that strong defensive effort against the New York Liberty. They won that game 80-64. Natasha Cloud led the Mystics with 14 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, and 2 blocks. Their defense held New York to 34% shooting from the field. They shot 46% from the field, 26% from behind the arc. They did get out rebounded 40-32, which we aren't used to seeing with this team, but first game of the season. They had 23 assists on 32 shots made, had 13 steals, 16 points off turnovers, and had 35 points in the paint. They won that game pretty dominantly, led it throughout, and pretty much had a defensive stranglehold on the Liberty that game. Next game up was against the Connecticut Sun, which is also considered another strong power team in the WA. They're loaded and stacked and looking to make a run for the championship. If you recall, I believe Las Vegas Aces won the championship last season, I believe. The Mystics lost this game to the Connecticut Sun 80-74. Elena Deladon led the Mystics with 19 points, 11 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, and 2 blocks. They only shot 37% from the field, 28% from behind the arc, and what really hurt them was at the free throw line. They only shot 69%. They hit 25 out of 36 free throws. That's, difference in the game right there. They won the rebounding battle 46-38. They had 17 assists on 25 shots made, 7 steals, 11 points off turnovers, and had 30 points in the paint. Connecticut just, played a good, solid game. The missed free throws definitely hurt. And they weren't able to, I believe last game they had 13 steals. They had 7 steals this game. You can't always bank on it, but defense and turnovers always play a key role. Had 16 points off turnovers the first game, had 11 points off turnovers in this game. So we can see this team is going to be strong defensively. They're still, it's only second game of the season. They're poised to make a strong run to try to get another title after their 2019 championship. And Tim, did you get a chance to check out either one of these games, or you're not a big WNBA fan? You're more of the NBA type. I like WNBA more because it's more fundamental basketball. You see plays ran, you see, solid defense for the whole game, not just in spurts. Do you like the WNBA, or are you more of just a NBA fan?
I follow it a little bit here and there. I'm more of an NBA fan. I've actually been to a few games back in the day. They definitely shoot better, and I would say pass better. So they're more fundamental. And I think they're marketing the league a lot better recently because you see Griner coming back. I've heard a lot about New York has a super team, so the Mystics have been good for a while now. Like you said, I think they're a playoff team again, but I believe in the East, people are really thinking New York is dominant. And then I also heard that they're probably going to get a team in Canada finally because they sold out a preseason game exhibition in Toronto just a week ago or so.
Nice.
So the game's growing. I know Washington, they've kept their team together. So I think they're going to do good things. But yeah, it's definitely getting tougher in the East for sure.
Yeah, and I wonder if the NBA can follow suit, because the East still is so crazy. Like you said, you got an 8 seed trying to sweep the number 2 seed. But the Mystics have two games this week. They have a rematch versus the Sun. It was a home and home. They'll be at the St. Elizabeth's East Entertainment and Sports Arena. Still haven't been there yet. Might have to reach out and see if we can get our credentials back for the Mystics, and might have to head down to yet another new arena in the DC area. That game is Tuesday at 7:00, and then they travel to Chicago to play the Chicago Sky, who's also 2-0, on Friday, and that's an 8:00 start. And I'm sure you better catch those games on Monumental Sports. And on that note, I'll go ahead and switch into our Nets talk. Let me get the graphics up for Nets. Where did it go? There. All right, let's get into some Nets talk. Currently sitting 20-27, 7 games under 500. They had if you count the game against the Mets on Monday, they had a 3-4 week. We covered that last week, so technically, in my opinion, they had a 2-4 week. Unfortunately, they got swept by the Marlins, and they won 2 out of 3 versus the Tigers in the interleague play. And I just want to remind all the Nats fans, I know, how bad the team is and yada, yada, yada. Remember those seasons when we used to torment the Marlins and we won like 18 in a row against them and was putting up double digits on a regular basis, and they were so bad and getting number 1 picks? This is what happens on the other side of that. When the team starts to get better, and then your team is rebuilding, retooling, and not in the best shape in certain aspects of the game. And unfortunately, now we're on the other side of that, rebuilding, retooling. Unfortunately, our owners haven't been successful at retaining talent that we've had on this team, and that's foreshadowing the upcoming games coming in with San Diego, one of those teams. And it still hurts and sucks to see Juan Soto not in the Nationals uniform. Moment of silence, please.
They still sell. Sorry for not remembering the moment of silence, but they still sell his jersey for $90 in the stadium as of Friday, which is crazy to me. Not even discounted. But
oh man, it's. I mean, the talent that this team has unfortunately not been able to retain is, upsetting. But Rendon, he's been a little injury plagued, so okay. Trey, he's still been balling, doing his thing. Max, still doing his thing. That was trade, I know trade, but still, when you look at the roster now and what we had, it's kind of tough. So I understand the frustration from the fans, but I was there, the 100-loss season, so I've been to the bottom.
Yeah, it doesn't feel that bad, obviously. I think they're a little better than those teams, at
Definitely.
least, maybe significantly better, and they got the ring. So,
yeah,
like you said, it's the other side. At least you've seen them, build up a championship team before, so maybe they can do it again. They're not completely unproven as a franchise.
Yeah, we're gonna have to definitely see what's up with Strasburg, because if we can get him back to at least pitching, doesn't even have to be the playoff Strasburg, just pitching like his old self. That'll add definitely add something to this team and give them a spark that they could need to, get on the other side of 500. Not saying make the playoffs and go on a run, but get above 500, stay around that area. They already, like I said, 7 games under. But
yeah, he's been out forever. I hope he comes back. And it's crazy that he just a couple of years ago, Corbin and he were winning championships and pitching great in the playoffs, and now that's baseball, because pitchers get hurt all the time, and they fall off quick too.
Well, Strasburg, one thing that a lot of people don't remember, when he first came out, they said with his throwing motion, you could expect some injuries later in his career because of his throwing motion. That's why he started, throwing out of the stretch, or not throwing out of the stretch, whatever adjustment that he made, and that helped. But because of the velocity, the torque, his size, and how much velocity he gets on the ball, that you can expect that. That's why a lot of fans don't recall that the Nationals did protect themselves with that contract that they gave him, with the injury clause and stuff like that. So if he doesn't return back to form and get back on the mound, they are able to recoup some of that money, or they had it already worked out in the deal. But I would love to see him come back. I was just watching some of it. I watched his I don't know why, but I watched his debut against Pittsburgh, the 14 strikeout game. I had it on my DVR. Had to watch it again.
Yeah, it's a Maston Classic.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
they play it still.
I recorded it the last time they played it, so I made sure I got it. But it's definitely the team isn't as bad. You got some young players that are starting to find their way. Some of the prospects have came up, got their taste of the majors, went back down. Pitching, the bullpen has been solid numbers wise, but there's been some hiccups here and there that giving up walks and runs that inherited that they were getting out of jams before, but unfortunately haven't been as fortunate this season so far. But let's go ahead and get into the week it was. I'm gonna go ahead and run through these games real quick. As I mentioned, they were swept by the Marlins. The first game was a 5-4 loss. Andrew Nardini earned the victory. That put him at 3-1. He went 1 inning, giving up no hits or runs with 1 strikeout and no walks. Hunter Harvey took the loss. That dropped him to 2-1. He went 2/3 of an inning, giving up 3 hits, 3 runs with 1 strikeout and no walks. Unfortunately, the Nats came back, and as I just mentioned, Hunter Harvey in the bottom of the ninth wasn't able to hold it down and lock it down, and gave up 3 runs for the walk-off win for the Marlins. In the top of the 6th, Lane Thomas had a solo home run that had put the Nats on the board and had them down 2-1. Top of the 8th, Candelero had an RBI single, making it 2-2. And Dominic Smith had a 2-run RBI single, giving the Nats a 4-2 lead going into the 9th. And as I mentioned, unfortunately, Hunter Harvey wasn't able to close the door, and they were able to come back and walk off the Nats. I turned the TV off as soon as it happened. I saw the pitch, I heard the sound, and I didn't even want to see the rest of it. Second game was a 4-3 loss. Edward Cabrera earned the victory. That put him at 3-3. He went 5 innings, giving up 5 hits, 2 runs with 6 strikeouts and no walks. Mackenzie Gore took another loss, which drops him to 500. He's now 3-3. He went 5 1/3, giving up 5 hits, 4 runs, 7 strikeouts, and 2 walks. And Dylan Floro earned his 3rd save of the season, going 1 inning, giving up 1 hit with no runs, no strikeouts, and no walks. Top of the 2nd, Corey Dickerson had a 2-run home run, which gave the Nats a 2-0 lead. And in the top of the 7th, Alex Carr had a ground-out RBI, which had the Nats down 4-3, and they weren't able to get any more offense after that. Took the loss 4-3 in that game and trying to avoid the sweep, but they were unsuccessful, losing the last game 5-3. Yuri Perez went 5 innings, giving up 3 hits, 1 run, 6 strikeouts, and 1 walk to earn his first victory of the season. That puts him at 1-0. Trevor Williams took the loss. That drops him to 1-2. He went 6 innings, giving up 5 hits, 3 runs with 5 strikeouts and 1 walk. And Dylan Floro earned his 4th save, going 1 inning with a clean 9th inning, no hits, no runs, no strikeouts, and no walks. Top of the 4th, Candelario had a solo home run, his 5th of the season. That had the Nats down 3-1. Top of the 8th, Candelario had an RBI double, making it 4-2 at that point. And then Corey Dickerson later in that inning had an RBI single, making it 4-3. Detroit tacked on a run in the 9th to make the final score 5-3. I mean Detroit, I'm sorry, Miami. I got ahead of myself. For the 5-3 loss, and the Marlins ended up sweeping the Nationals. Going into the Detroit game, the Nats came back home looking to try to salvage this week in some way. Unfortunately, this series didn't start out any better because they took the first loss of the series in the first game, 8-6. Matthew Boyd earned the victory. That put him at 3-3. He went 5 2/3, giving up 4 hits, 3 runs with 4 strikeouts and 1 walk. Jake Irwin dropped his 2nd in a row. That puts him at 1-2. He only lasted 2 2/3. Another short outing. Last outing he lasted 4 2/3. He had no hit ball up until that point and got shelled in that inning. This one he didn't even get out the 3rd inning. He gave up 2 he went 2 2/3, giving 5 hits, 6 runs, 4 of those earned with 1 strikeout and 4 walks. Walks were the issue, and he weren't able to get out of the jam and ended up giving up the runs. And Alex Lang earned his 8th save of the season for Detroit. He went an inning in the 3rd, giving up no hits, no runs with 2 strikeouts and no walks. As Tim mentioned, I'll get his take on this game since he was there. They were down 8-0 before they got their first run, which was in the bottom of the 6th. C.J. Abrams had an RBI double, which made it 8-1. Then Lane Thomas had a 2-run home run in that same inning, making it 8-3. The bottom of the 7th, Dominic Smith scores on a wild pitch, making it 8-4. And Cabot Ruiz had a 2-run home run, making it 8-6 in the bottom of the 7th, but they weren't able to get any more runs to complete the comeback and fell 8-6. Tim, like you said, you stayed to the final pitch, giving up 8 runs and being down 8-0 is a hard game to stomach. But to see them, like you say, fight and try to, come all the way back, but did, made it respectable. What was the atmosphere like, and what was your sense of this game? That what got it out of hand? Was it just the bad pitching and Detroit was just ready for it, or this is one you just chalk up and throw away, but you try to point out the good points of them fighting back?
I think the radio guy had it right on the post game. The Nats played the first 5 innings like it was a Sunday afternoon game, and they weren't awake yet, but it was a night game at home. Great crowd, decent amount of Tigers fans, but the Nats fans came out because it's a Friday night. Great weather, but the Nats just didn't wake up, and they played really poor defense, especially early. They had 2 errors. They didn't help out the young pitcher, especially in the first inning. That inning could have been 1-2-3 if the defense was just solid. So with a young pitcher, when they make a few mistakes, they compound it a lot because they're not confident yet. So that you got to help out your young pitcher. But it was like 2 games. Second half of the game, they played great defense. scored 6 runs. But the Tigers back into the bullpen did lock it down, and the Nats had an opportunity with the guy on third in the 7th and only 1 out, down 8-6, and they couldn't get an extra run. I think even if it's just 8-7 going into the 8th or 9th, the Nats might come back with a walk-off. But being down 2 and just not scoring there when you should gave the Tigers a little momentum to close it out. So that was their big chance at the end.
Yeah, came up a little short, but that's what you get with youth. Like you said, it took them a little while to wake up and get things going. So
Right.
hopefully, later on in the season, we won't see these things happening. We'll see some of these results, hopefully show up on the scoreboard and in the win column. And
Definitely.
yeah, to finish up this series, they were on a 4-game losing streak after getting swept by the Marlins and losing that first game of the series. Then they came back with 2 impressive performances, both 2 impressive pitching performances. As you mentioned, Patrick Corbin. It was a 5-2 win in Game 2 of the series. That put him at 3-5. He's actually had 3 quality starts back to back to back. He just hasn't got run support. He hasn't been. His slider still isn't what it used to be, but he's not giving up the long ball as much, which is a plus. As I said, he's now 3-5. He went 6 innings, giving up 6 hits, 2 runs with 3 strikeouts and no walks. Alex Fuedo dropped to 0-2. He went 5 innings, giving up 5 hits, 3 runs with 4 strikeouts and no walks. And Cal Finnegan earned his 9th save of the season, going 1 inning, giving up no hits, no runs with 1 strikeout and no walks. In the bottom of the 4th, Candelero hit a solo home run, his 6th of the season, making it a 2-1 game. The Nats were down. In the bottom of the 5th, Lane Thomas, who's been on fire lately, hit his 6th home run of the season. No, I'm sorry, that was a 2-run RBI single. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself because later on he hits his 6th in the next game. That put the Nats up 3-2. In the bottom of the 6th, Kyber Ruiz had an RBI single, making it 4-2. And in the bottom of the 8th, Candelero had an RBI double, making it 5-2, which was the final score. And for the win on yesterday, the Nats won 6-4 behind 5 okay innings behind Josiah Gray, but that put him at 4-5. He gave up 3 hits, 1 run with 2 strikeouts, but had 6 walks. Normally he has one of those starts every season since we've had him. He'll have one where he just, loses his location, his, release point or whatever, and has a high walk game, but we've already seen him have, 3 double-digit strikeout games. So you can, he's still young, still find his way, but he got some run support for the 3rd game out of 4, which is, there was an issue in the beginning of the season with him starting out 0-4. Joey Wentz took the loss. That dropped him to 1-4. He went 2 innings, giving up 10 hits, 6 runs, 1 strikeout, and no walks. And Hunter Harvey earned his 2nd save of the season, going 1 inning, giving up no hits, no runs, with 2 strikeouts and no walks. The Nats got started early on the offensive side. Bottom of the 1st, Joey Meneses had an RBI single, making it 1-0. Stone Garrett had an RBI single, scoring Meneses, making it 2-0. Dominic Smith had a fielder's choice RBI, making it 3-0 in the bottom of the 1st. Then in the bottom of the 2nd, Riley Adams hit his 2nd home run of the season, a solo shot, making it 4-0. In the bottom of the 3rd, Ildiarmo Vargas. I don't know why I love saying his name. I don't know why. I just did. I don't know why. Yeah, it's a cool baseball name. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's like Mika Zibanejad in hockey. I don't know why I love his name. I hate that he had a 4-game goal against us, but I love his name. I don't know why. Vargas had a 2-run home run, his 1st of the season, making it 6-1 at that point. And Detroit got a couple of runs later on in that game to make it a little bit respectable. But the Nats were able to win the series and salvage the week at 2-4, winning the game 6-4. Upcoming this week, as I said, they have the Padres coming to town on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Tuesday and Wednesday is a 7:05 start. Thursday is an 8:05 start. And then they travel to Kansas City for some more interleague play in the weekend with a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday is an 8:10 start. Saturday is a 4:10 start. And Sunday is a 2:10 start. So The Padres are under 500 also. They're kind of in a similar position offensively, defensively, and standings wise with the Nationals. So this should be an interesting matchup. It's going to suck seeing Juan Soto back in a different uniform, but I still love watching him play, man. I'm not going to love watching him play this week, but when he's not here playing against us, he's still one of the favorite people I like to watch.
Yeah, that'll be an emotional game back, but it should be exciting.
Yeah, it just sucks to see him in a different uniform, man.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree. All right. Well, Tim, thank you so much for joining us and being a part of multiple different segments tonight. I appreciate you.
Yeah, it was a good time. Good hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, and you're more than welcome to join Carol. I know he's going to do an update, the NBA Finals in a couple of weeks.
Sweet.
And I'll give the keys over of the Zoom to him, and you guys can still all join him over there. I know Arun wanted to talk, but he was busy with other matters tonight, but I'm sure I would like to talk about it down the line as well.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you coming on every week as you always have, and happy belated birthday. We did mention happy birthday last week on the stream.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you. Sad I missed it, but I was.
Yeah, no. I'm happy that I'm happy you had a good birthday. That's the important thing. Yeah. So that's awesome. Well, Tim will catch you on Carol's feed in a couple of weeks, maybe, and I'm sure I'll see you in the next couple of weeks myself. So I'll talk to you soon.
All right, have a good one. Talk to you guys later.
All right, Tim, take it easy, man.
All right, Carol. With that, I'm going to let you give your little sign off for your end of it, and then people can stay live on if they go to facebook.com/sportsothp. They get the live feed that will have this interview with Jeremy from Moonlight Social. Also, if you get us on our Twitch feed, twitch.tv/RobbieG_sportsothp. And all the links, like always, are on sportsothp.com under the socials button. And especially if you want to catch Carol in a couple of months that I'm not going to be on in the next couple of months, you definitely should check out his Facebook page and his YouTube channel. And all those links are on sportsothp.com as well, under the socials, under Team Sports at OTHP. The YouTube link is in the banner. And Carol will keep the Nats coverage going all summer long. But Carol, any final thoughts before we let you go?
No, just as always, appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate Team Sports OTHP always, doing their thing. Probably check out the rest of this Lakers game before I hit the bed. Stay on the lookout. As always, we got some things in the works. Training camps coming up. Very close to Ashburn, so you might see your boy out there, showing some live footage, streaming live from my page, Sports OTHP page. Also be on the lookout for some financial planning podcast possible coming out. Information being put out on my page. If you're in need of any financial planning, just sit down and get a financial snapshot to see where you're sitting at, no obligation. If you like what you see, you like what you're doing, it's cool. If you don't like what you see and, need some solutions to some issues that you see and shortcomings, that's what I'm here for. So be sure to inbox me, hit me up. I've already had a couple of folks contact me in the process of talking to them. So feel free. Going to do a lot of financial education things going on because, we all need to learn some more, especially myself. So can't wait to expose folks to some things that they need to know, working with New York Life, the best insurance and financial institution in this country. Go look it up. It's documented. Be on the lookout. We will be having boxing talk probably coming up soon. We got a lot of things going on with boxing. I was just talking to Paul, the boxing guy, a little while ago. Let's see what else. I'm in the process of scouting locations out here in Northern Virginia to possibly have another venue like we did with Martinis for the pregame and postgame show. So I've been checking out a couple of spots. I was about to start putting some things together and reaching out to some of these owners and managers. So be on the lookout in Northern Virginia, Vienna, Fairfax, Annandale area. Might see some things popping up with Sports OTHP, pregame and postgame show for the Commander season upcoming. So stay tuned for that. And as always, appreciate you, Robbie. I know this is your last show before you take your vacation to go travel the world and such, with young Zach and young Zara getting more frequent flyer miles than myself. And hope you guys have a safe travels. And Liz, you know, the wonderful family. Hopefully we can get y'all out here after y'all come back from your travels. Come on out here and
Yeah, I will quickly say that just so people, if they want to follow me, my YouTube channel, I'll still keep doing vlogs and stuff like that of my travels. And I keep my Facebook page and Instagram page up to date as well. So I won't disappear completely. I'm just taking a break from the podcasting. It's pool season when I have some time with them. But I'm doing this really cool trip, Carol. We're in 2 weeks. We're going to try to go to 10 states and do all of New England, and we're gonna drive it. So not even frequent flyers. We're gonna actually drive it with 2 little kids. It seems kind of scary, but I think it'll be a lot of fun. We're gonna go to a children's museum in each state, each day, and or a zoo or something fun. And we're gonna geotag and take pictures in each state, and it'll be a cool thing on Instagram that people can go back and Zach will be able to go back and Zara too. When they're older and say, oh, we got to go to the 13, we're going to see all the 13 original colonies except for Georgia, I think. So we're going to hit North and South Carolina as well on a separate trip. And then we're going to visit you in Virginia. We're going to try to find a way to get out to West Virginia and hit DC as well and try to do 15 states and DC all in one summer. So it should be a busy and fun summer, and I look forward to it. But why I won't be podcasting.
yeah.
But Carol got it covered, and I hope that you guys love his Nats coverage. And I'll definitely be back in September. Maybe I'll do a pop-up stream or join Carol for part of one stream every once in a while. But it just won't be like the regular thing. I also want to maybe do an art stream pop-up on my channel at some point to do some merch. I might do that if I'm super amped at the end of this podcast. I might do it on some other day, so to be determined on that. But things might pop up with me, but the regular stuff. I'm taking a break for a little bit. But Carol, thank you so much for carrying the torch. I appreciate that I got to carry the torch for a big part of this season for you, and that's what Team Sports at THP is about. That we've got each other's back, and we got each other covered.
Yes, sir. All right, man. Well, you have a good rest of the show. As always, CP3, live from the lab. I'm out. DC Sports by the Politics. It's not just a catchphrase. It's not just a motto.